Today, we're going on a journey through India's magnificent forests. We're talking everything from snow-dusted peaks all the way down to salty coastal swamps. We're going to uncover the secrets behind one of the most varied and vital landscapes on Earth. So, let's dive right in.
Just look at this. India is a land of stunning, almost unbelievable contrasts. In one part of the country, you have these towering, lush rainforests, and in another, you've got these dry, thorny scrublands. So what gives? What natural forces are at play that create such dramatically different worlds inside of one country? Well, that's the big question we're here to unpack.
Okay, first things first, let's get a key term straight. When we talk about these forests, we're talking about natural vegetation. Now, this isn't your local park or a neatly planted orchard. No, this is a community of plants that's been left alone for a really long time, growing wild and adapting perfectly to the local climate and the soil. It's basically nature left to its own devices.
All right, so let's kick off our journey in the wettest parts of India. We're heading into the realm of the great evergreen forests. These are ecosystems so incredibly lush and vibrant, they feel like they never, ever sleep.
So, where exactly do we find these places? Check out the map. See those dark green areas? Those are our tropical evergreen forests. You'll find them on the rain-battered western slopes of the Western Ghats, all across the hills of northeast India, and way out on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These are the rain-soaked frontiers of the country.
So what's the secret sauce for an evergreen forest? Well, it starts with a ton of rain. We're talking over 200 centimeters a year, and warm temperatures that stay above 22 degrees Celsius. These perfect conditions create this amazing multi-layered structure, almost like a skyscraper of biodiversity. You've got the towering canopy, a mid-level understory, a shrub layer. Some of these trees soar up to 60 meters or even more. And because there's no real dry season, the trees all shed their leaves at different times, which means the forest stays green all year round.
And you know what else you find here? Some of the most valuable timber on the planet. We're talking about those rich, dark, beautiful woods like rosewood, mahogany, and ebony. They all thrive in this warm, humid paradise.
Okay, so we've seen the super wet regions. Now, let's move away from that constant rain and head a bit inland. We're going to explore the forests that literally dance to the rhythm of the monsoon. These are the tropical deciduous forests, and they are, by far, the most widespread forest type in all of India.
And if you look back at our map, you'll see just how much of the country is covered by these light green patches. They're everywhere. They totally dominate the landscape, which is why a lot of people just call them the monsoon forests. Their entire existence is defined by that dramatic swing between the wet and the dry seasons.
But here's the thing. They're not all created equal. It really just boils down to one thing, how much rain you get. In places that get a good soaking, between 100 and 200 centimeters, you get moist deciduous forests. They're full of commercially important trees like teak and sandalwood. But in the drier spots, say 70 to 100 centimeters, you find dry deciduous forests with much tougher species like tendu and axlewood. And these trees are absolutely vital for the local communities who depend on them.
And this shot just captures the transformation perfectly. When that dry season hits, the trees go into survival mode and shed all their leaves to save water. The whole forest just changes. It looks like a huge, open parkland with these bare, almost skeletal trees just patiently waiting for the monsoon to come back and breathe life into them all over again.
All right, now for a quick tour of the extremes. We're going to look at two ecosystems where plants have to be incredibly tough to survive. We're going from way up in the highest mountains right down to the salty coasts to see how nature adapts. So on one side, you have the high-altitude montane forests of the Himalayas, and on the other, the mangrove forests right on the coast. These are two completely different worlds, each one shaped by a unique challenge. One is all about fighting the altitude and the cold, while the other is battling salt and tides every single day. In the montane forests, altitude changes everything. As you climb higher, the plants change so dramatically, it's like traveling from the tropics to the tundra in just a few kilometers. You go from leafy deciduous trees up to pines and firs, and finally to alpine meadows with just mosses. Meanwhile, down on the coast, it is all about surviving salt. Mangroves are just incredible. They have these complex root systems that let them grow right in tidal mud. And get this, India is home to 7% of the entire world's mangrove forests. That's a pretty big deal.
So we've seen all this incredible diversity. It's a true natural treasure, right? But exploring these places is one thing. Protecting them is a whole other challenge. So how is India working to conserve this vital biodiversity?
Well, the threats are coming from all sides. You've got forests being cleared for farming and for new settlements, resources being overused, wildlife threatened by poaching and hunting, and even things like overgrazing by cattle put a huge strain on these delicate habitats.
But it is not all bad news, not by a long shot. In the face of all these threats, there have been some major conservation efforts. And one of the most famous has to be Project Tiger. It was launched way back in 1973, and it was groundbreaking because it wasn't just about saving the tiger. It was about protecting the entire ecosystem that the tiger calls home.
And the results? Well, they really speak for themselves. Today, India is home to almost 3,000 tigers. That number, 2,967, that represents a staggering 70% of all the tigers on the entire planet. Just think about that for a second. It's powerful proof that dedicated conservation can and does work.
And the effort goes way beyond just tigers. This map shows India's 18 biosphere reserves. They're part of a big UNESCO program to protect major ecosystems around the world. You can think of them as living laboratories, where the goal is to figure out how conservation and sustainable development can go hand in hand, protecting the nation's natural heritage on a massive scale.
So, as our tour of India's forests comes to an end, we're left with a final really important question. This is a country of immense biodiversity, but it's also a nation with a growing population and very real needs. So the ultimate challenge is finding that balance. How can we move forward and develop while also making sure this incredible natural heritage is protected for all the generations